Okay, this week TikTok took one scarier step to getting completely banned in the US, but there is so much more to this that you're not being told. A former Boeing employee who was giving evidence in a whistleblower lawsuit against the company was found dead from a self-inflicted wound, but now a family friend has come out and said that he told them if anything happens, it is not suicide. The relative humidity in China hit a staggering 100%, forcing people to sleep with umbrellas inside. And I'm back in the News Daddy HQ after filming for 10 days in, get your guesses in now, Mexico.
El Noticias Papi.
Okay, let us kick this week off with the whole TikTok situation, because the more I look into it, the stranger this situation gets. Most will probably know by now, but the bill to ban TikTok sped through yet another crucial step after it was passed by a huge majority in the House of Representatives. So, what the hell happens now? Well, the bill will now move to what will effectively be the last stage. And I say effectively because it normally would have to go to the president, and the president would have to say yes. But good old Joe has already said preemptively that if this bill arrives on his desk approved, he too will approve it. But since the huge backlash from the previous vote, US senators are now calling for a slower and more cautious deliberation. Probably a good idea considering how quickly it sped through the last two votes. Thanks. But this whole situation has highlighted some very worrying and wild things about not just politicians, but the political sphere in general, to me at least. Not only has there been a bunch of lies, which I'll pull up one by one, don't you worry, but even the politicians that use TikTok to further their own career turned their back on the app and voted yes to the bill. I'm talking about none other than good old Jeff Jackson. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, this guy went from one of the most loved to one of the most hated people on the app in a matter of one day. He has lost over 200,000 followers in the last week, and I wouldn't be surprised if he loses more. And if you don't know who Jeff Jackson is, well, he was one of those few politicians that jumped on social media and made videos in a way which really leveled with the public and made him seem really real. And because of that, he blew up. Every video he posted was received pretty positively, and every single video also got millions of views, which, I mean, let's not lie, is quite rare for a politician. But then TikTok found out that even he voted yes to the bill, and boy, did he get roasted. He got so much hate that he had to end up deleting the video of where he was explaining himself, and then he issued an apology video, almost like he was an influencer.
I apologize. I did not handle this situation well from top to bottom, and that is why I have been completely roasted on this app over the last 48 hours. I like this app. I've been able to reach a lot of people and hear directly from them. I'm also in Congress, and I've been a part of some briefings about this app that were genuinely alarming. And the reason I voted for it was because I genuinely believe the chance of a ban is practically zero. My thinking was I could reconcile those two things by just making a video that said, hey, here's the situation. And that was a total disaster.
So he argues that he voted yes to the bill because it wouldn't get banned, it would rather just get sold. But the CEO of TikTok, Shou Chu, said that ByteDance will not sell. And if they don't sell, it's a ban. I mean, let's be real, even if it was sold, is an American-owned TikTok actually better? Because I mean, we all saw the Twitter files. I mean, and we all know how involved those American three-letter agencies were in Twitter. And see, here's the thing. By default, I would love, and I always try to give the benefit of the doubt to those who run the country, but they are making it so bloody hard for me. These are just some of the lies that were told around the whole TikTok debate. Senator Mark Rubio tweeted saying, TikTok used its app to force thousands of Americans to call their members of Congress to oppose the banning of the app. Okay, firstly, TikTok did not force anyone to do anything. You could still swipe off of that notification and just continue using the app. Additionally, people organizing themselves politically and contacting their representatives about an issue that is important to them is literally what democracy is all about. But you can't even make that up. Lie number 2. TikTok's algorithm is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party to try and push government propaganda to US users. To date, there is not one single piece of evidence that is being brought forward to support this claim. And keep in mind, this is their number one reason to ban the app. Imagine having zero evidence to support your number one concern. Wild. And not only that, but Oracle, a US company based in Texas, reviews any changes made to TikTok's algorithm. Line number 3. TikTok is owned by the CCP. Well, according to TikTok themselves, 60% of ByteDance is owned by international investors, including Americans. Another 20% is owned by TikTok employees, including 7,000 Americans. And the company itself, TikTok Incorporated, is a US company bound by US law, and TikTok's headquarters are in Los Angeles and Singapore. And I mean, if these politicians, the ones that are voting, that have the power to ban this app, are just outright misleading people about these kind of details, it just discredits everything else that they say that is true. And you want to know what the final nail in the coffin was for me? Stephen Mnuchin, the former Treasury Secretary and the person part of the original effort to ban the app back in 2020 with the Trump administration, now wants to buy it. Wild. He recently told CNBC, "I think the legislation should pass. I think it should be sold. I understand the technology. It's a great business. I'm going to put together a group to buy TikTok." I mean, what the hell is going on? And honestly, even if people say that, oh, it's just one country if it gets banned, well, the US not only comprises TikTok's largest audience, but revenue too. I mean, it would nuke a huge part of TikTok, making it way less compelling to use and create on, ultimately leading to what I'd imagine to be a TikTok exodus. And guess where all of those people, like myself, would have to end up going to? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, all American companies. Now, there is one more major detail about this whole situation, and it has to do with Israel and lobbyists there, but that is a video which I'm Can't speak about that. What's going on?
FBI, open up!
Now, there is one more major influencing factor in all of this, and it has to do with Israel, but I'm currently making that video. I'll post that on TikTok, and probably, if you're only watching me on YouTube, that'll be available next week. But it's scary. Anyway, I'll keep you updated on this whole situation, but until then, let's move on. Let's change the mood to talking about the weather, shall we? This week, the relative humidity in southern China hit a 100% factor. And honestly, I have never seen anything like it. Videos are coming out of people showing their walls and ceilings absolutely drenched, while others had to use window scrapers and even hair dryers to try and remove the condensation. Some had to sleep with freaking umbrellas because even if you scrape off the water of your ceiling, it soon comes right back and starts dripping on you. The red paint and ink on the Lunar New Year's posters were completely soaked and started dripping, making the walls and floors look like a freaking crime scene. People couldn't get in their homes because the doors that used fingerprint recognition stopped working. Electrical switches became a hazard, and it even turned a bag of crisps back into mashed potato. And the craziest part is that this kind of weather usually occurs later in the year when the warmer months arrive. But it is only March and it hit a sweltering 30 degrees plus 100% humidity, with residents saying that it was the worst they've experienced in decades. And all of this comes as February became the hottest month globally on record, making it the 9th month in a row that global heat records have been smashed. I mean, honestly, I've been covering news for a couple of years now, and I'm not gonna lie, the weather situation is getting crazy. Moving on. Here's something that's insane. AI is revolutionizing the farming industry, but the problem is it's replacing humans. This, for example, is the laser weeder from Carbon Robotics. That sentence sounds wild. That just sounds straight up out of a dystopian sci-fi movie. Laser weeder from Carbon Robotics is wild. Now, the laser weeder can run 24 hours a day without needing to take breaks, eat a bit of food, and drink water. No, those are human problems. Side note, while I'm making all of this, it kind of comes to me right now that, all of the empires, the great empires that we have today, was built by slaves. And so I bet we're thinking, how do we get ethical slaves nowadays? Robots. Robots will be our future ethical slaves. Mark my words. Let me continue. It uses a highly sophisticated AI-based laser system which kills thousands of weeds with sub-millimeter accuracy at the meristem before they start competing for water, sunlight, and nutrients. So farmers going with the robot option would not only give them that all-important organic label that they can slap on something and charge 100% more, but with lasers, there's also no need to disturb the soil because you're not mechanically weeding. The problem is that they were both jobs that humans normally got paid to do. Or how about this one? The drone fruit pickers from Tevel Aerobotics. These autonomous robots also run 24/7 and use cutting-edge AI, computer vision, and machine learning algorithms to not only pick the fruits when they are perfectly ripe, but their harvesting technique lowers the amount of bruising when placing them in the buckets. But again, those buckets were once filled by human hands. So the question is, do you think that the revolutionary tech in farming is a good or bad thing for the world? And while you're answering that, and if you're enjoying the video, you might as well subscribe because we do this every week. Okay, just when you thought the whole flight situation this year, whatever you'd like to call whatever's going on with flights this year, couldn't get any crazier. Well, it bloody has. Probably the craziest thing to date happened this week. A former Boeing employee who was giving evidence in a whistleblower lawsuit against the company was found dead in his truck in his hotel parking lot from a self-inflicted wound. But since then, ABC News posted this video in which a close family friend of John said he predicted he might wind up dead and that a story could surface that he killed himself. I mean, buckle the hell up, because this gets wild. John Barnett had worked as a quality manager for Boeing for 32 years, but after he retired in 2017, he embarked on long-running legal action against the company, accusing them of many shocking things, but just some of them include cutting corners and rushing the construction of their planes, and deliberately fitting substandard parts that compromise safety. And I mean, if you've been watching my channel at all this year, you'd know that there is no shortage of faulty Boeing planes right now. I mean, just in the last 2 videos that I've made, we had a wheel dropping off, gear failure, and then this week a United's plane apparently lost an external panel mid-flight after taking off. I mean, Al Jazeera was onto this way back in 2014 because they got a Boeing employee to go undercover and ask his colleagues if they would fly the planes that they were building, and out of 15 people asked, 10 said no. And they said shit like, nah, this is sketchy. What the hell? And I mean, a lot of people don't realize that Boeing is not just an aeroplane manufacturer. They also sell satellites, rockets, and even weapons like missiles and military aircraft worldwide. They are the 4th largest defense contractor in the world and the single largest exporter in the entire United States by dollar value. Not a fun company to go up against, huh? I mean, protesters even tried to block Boeing facilities supplying weapons to Israel in November. Anyway, tangent aside, John accused the company of denigrating his character and hampering his career because of the issues that he spoke out against. And then, just last week, he gave a formal deposition in which he was questioned by Boeing's lawyers, and he had been due to undergo further questioning on Saturday. But when he didn't turn up to the meeting, his lawyers started getting worried. Inquiries were made, and he was subsequently found dead in his truck in his hotel parking lot. Boeing commented on the news saying that it was saddened to hear of Mr. Barnett's passing. And I thought, damn, maybe this is where this whole story ends, because the coroner said that it was a suicide. But then ABC News dropped this. Their investigative journalist spoke with a family friend named Jennifer, and she said that they had spoke about the lawsuit he had with Boeing and asked him directly, "Aren't you scared?" To which he replied that he wasn't, but if anything happens to him, it's not suicide and she shouldn't believe it because he's got too much to do and he likes breathing. Woo! She went on to say that there is no way that it was suicide because he loved life too much, he loved his family too much, and he loved his brothers way too much to put them through something like they're going through right now. The Charleston County coroner initially noted that the death was from a self-inflicted wound, but said that more tests are being done before a final determination. Police have made it clear that they are still actively investigating the death. Sources have also told the New York Post that Barnett's car had been dusted inside and out for prints, which is a very unusual method in a suicide. I mean, I hate to speculate in this kind of thing, so I won't ask you what you think. Let's just say RIP to John Barnett, and I hope the truth, no matter what it is, prevails. Moving on to our last segment of the week, why the hell was Noticias Papi in Mexico? Well, you probably know that I have a brother, and we are working on some secret projects right now. Some are still highly classified, but others have recently been launched, like our joint channel together. And I know that you guys have been saying you want more content than just once a week on YouTube. So if you go to Dylan and Elliot on YouTube, there's more. Anyway, we spent a week in a villa that had an underground swimming pool, brainstorming and filming content. We went to probably one of the most insane gyms, honestly, in the world. All of the weights were made out of wood and stone. The ground was just all sand. The weights were absolutely massive, which made me look like the strongest man in the world. And I was even able to use Elliot as weights on the lat pull down. And when we were done, we could literally just go into the sea and swim in some Caribbean beautiful waters. That isn't the coolest gym you've ever seen. You're goddamn lying. We went to a restaurant where girls would literally stand by your table and dance all night. I'm not kidding. Like, it's supposed to be something that you actually look at while you're eating as entertainment. But I mean, I don't know if you've ever had this situation before, but just staring at a human dance. Like, when it's not even loud, it's just kind of like you're just staring at her. It's very awkward. And speaking about Mexican food, and this might be controversial to say, but while we were there, the Mexican food in Mexico was straight ass. I mean, I know how crazy that sounds, and maybe it was just where we were, but I had everything. I had fajitas, I had tacos, I had quesadillas. Nothing was good. There was no salsa, there was no guacamole, and I'm telling you, Mexican cuisine is my #1. So I was heartbroken. So if anyone has any answers for me as to why this may be the case, please let me know in the comments. And if you were thinking, did bro have the cojones to swim under the house? Yes, I bloody did. And I only realized after I did that this house that we were staying in has a pretty massive security flaw. I mean, I was locking the doors every night until I realized, well, if someone wanted to rob the house, they could literally just swim underneath the back door. Anyway, we did so much more. All of the content is now being edited and will be posted on my Instagram, my TikTok, and our joint channel. So keep your eyes peeled. But until then, I will see you next Monday. Love ya. Bye.